when I was working in a corporate world, like interviewing a girl, like in a college, I don't want to name that college. Like I supposed to ask her a question, like why I supposed to hire you? She said like try me once. Have you?
Respect your parents because they pass school without Google. So pre-COVID again, I was with other company that time, and he was the last candidate. He was very sad. He was looking a bit depressed, I would say. I said, "What happened to you?" So he said, "I had a recent breakup."
So it had become a rehabilitation center.
Yeah.
Hi friends, welcome back to Sri Siddhartha School of Engineering podcast. Today we have one more guest with us, a fantastic person, that is Rahul Dikshit sir. So welcome to Sri Siddhartha School of Engineering podcast, sir.
Thank you,
Welcome
sir.
to you, sir.
Thank you.
So, like to brief out about Rahul Dikshit sir is an HR. He is from a technical background, but still he opted for HR. He working in a very reputed company that is Quest Global as an HR. So it will be more insights for you guys how you wanted to start your engineering journey in corporate world. So come, let us delve into this podcast and like we're gonna hear from Arsus Moth. Sir, welcome to the show and thank you for giving your time for our podcast in your busy schedule. Sir, my first question for you is you are a tech guy. How did you shift into the HR background?
So yeah, I have done my engineering, I know, but I was never meant to be an engineer. Is what now I can feel for myself. Because when I'm in this industry, so I also look at this fact that I help students to get a job, to build on their own lives. That is, I think, one of the main purposes is what I have recognized for myself. And I was never meant to be a tech guy. I mean, I knew that engineering is never my cup of tea. I always wanted to be into mass communication, BCom, BBA. But that time engineering was at boom and everyone knew that engineering you should do and you will flourish in your life.
Hmm.
So I feel that this shift was meant to be because I was more inclined towards the management field, and I knew that I had to give back to society.
Hmm.
It is not, though it's part of my job, but it is also helping others build their own careers. So I feel that I was never a tech guy. I was also always into people. I always wanted to speak, interact, and learn about what their psychology is. How is it that they bring about changes, they adapt to changes. That is one thing which I felt that I should be into it. And
Okay.
that's what brought me into non-tech field.
How easy and difficult to be an HR in this tech world? Because the company which you are working, probably work with most of the tech clients. So how it is difficult to be a HR in a tech company?
It is as simple as being an HR in a non-tech company. I mean, there is no difference. You
Hmm.
cannot differentiate HR of a technical company and a non-technical company. We do the same thing. You go to any non-tech company, they do the same thing. You come to a technical company, we are doing the same thing. There's no rocket science when it comes to, or when you think about HR being an HR in a technical company, or is there a different profile? Is there a different work profile? No. I mean, it is equally fun because being an engineer myself, although I had accepted this that I was never into technical, but being an engineer myself and hiring engineers is something which makes me go back to my engineering days and feel and learn how could I have worked better on myself, on my engineering skills. So it is more of uh, what do you say, learning from the new generation which is coming in as employees into our company, and also thinking that okay, I would have done this better when I was an engineer myself. There is no difference in a non-tech and tech in HR from my perspective, I would say.
Okay. Being an HR, do you feel that before Corona students and after Corona students, is there a quality appreciation or depreciation?
You are getting me into a fix now.
Yeah.
I would say I wouldn't comment on the quality. Okay, quality has a lot of aspects coming into it. You cannot say that quality was good or bad before and now. I would say the zeal of the students has changed. It has changed in terms of because pre-COVID we did not have lot of tools coming in. Tools as in more of the AI dominant tools are here in the market. Now you have lot of dominant tools which are into AI in the market, so which makes life of a student easier. So I wouldn't compromise. I wouldn't say that the quality has changed, but the technology has made student go more lenient on themselves. If you are the key stakeholder in this college, you would also have noticed wherever you were pre-COVID that student used to have a thought process established in their own minds and their heads while they were thinking of any problem statement pre-COVID. Now it is with the things on their own hand at on their fingertips. They are more tech savvy, I would say, and less dependent on their knowledge. So I have this quote in hanging in my office which says, "Respect your parents because they pass school without Google."
Okay.
So I
True,
would
very much
say,
true.
so in the pre-COVID and the post-COVID, people will say respect your parents because they studied pre-COVID
Okay.
and
Super.
were less dependent on AI tools.
Okay. When I was working in a corporate world, so I come across with some weird things like when students enter into the interview room. Like I was like interviewing a girl like in a college. I don't want to name that college. Like I supposed to ask her a question, like why I supposed to hire you. She said like try me once. Have you like have you ever noticed like such kind of weird things in an HR when you are like interviewing a person or something like that?
I have. So pre-COVID again, I was with other company that time, and he was the last candidate that come for an interview. He was very sad. He was looking a bit depressed, I would say. I said, "What happened to you?" Because it was my last HR round, so I had liberty of time for me with me.
Hmm.
I asked him what happened. It was like he started crying. Tears rolled down his eyes, and I was like, "Please don't cry inside the room. Okay, you can go outside and then cry."
Mm.
So he said, "No, I want to cry out here." I said, "Why?" "Because, sir, you do not know me. Okay, and I can take out my emotions in front of you." I said, Please take it out then." So he said, "I had a recent breakup."
So you had become a rehabilitation center.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I said, "Okay." So I was taken aback. Okay, this also happens during an HR interview. So he started telling me all his uh, relationship stuffs. I was quiet and I was listening to him. I was like, if I say anything and if it goes haywire, then I'm gone.
Mm.
So like, okay, it happens. It's normal part and parcel of my life, of everyone's life, I would say. So he was like, "What should I do now?" I said, "You should focus on your goals, focus on your life. Things like this happen day in and day out." There are actually many random things which have happened in an interview. I would not like to name them here in
Mm.
the podcast as such because but they are very funny. You know how people of this generation are very open, very frank. They have no filter, which is a very good thing at times because they are speaking their heart out, but they also forget the fact that they are in an interview at times.
True.
So that gets me into a fix. What should I do with the candidate? Because someone who is very good in communication, very brilliant in terms of thought process, who knows when to talk what, but during in that discussion and then interview makes slight mistake, which is not acceptable in terms of a normal norms during an interview, I would say. Then you get into trouble. What should I do now? Because I know the candidate is good, and if I hire this person, and if he says something during any meeting, then so you will be questioned. Why did you hire him? So that was one thing, and the candidate was good. He was not. I would not say that he was bad. He was good. I told to myself, should I hire him? Then my heart said, yeah, you can go ahead with him. He's a good. Anyways, he will learn because he was a fresher then. But my mind said, you cannot take this risk. What if he says this to the CEO of the company in the meeting?
Um, like most of the time, like we HRs will gonna say that we're gonna get back to you.
Hmm.
Does it means like no,
No,
we are
no,
not tired?
no. It's not that way.
Okay.
So it's a general.
Because most of the times, like whenever like we hear from the students, they will gonna say that sir, they're gonna get back to us. They said like they're gonna get back to us, but they're not gonna mention the stipulated time, like when they will gonna get back to us. So is it saying diplomatically no?
No, I would not say this. Okay.
Okay.
So this is a very wrong notion in the non-HRs across the world, I would say, that whenever we say we'll get back to you, that means there are two reasons to it. Okay, either we do not have the clarity as of now. Okay, I'm talking in general. Either we do not have the clarity as of now, what is the next step, or we are waiting for the direction from the higher management to come in. So that is when we say we will get back to you, because there are times, okay, when the feedback is good, you should go ahead. But what if the position now is shelved, but we are still pushing from our end that hire him because you have given a commitment to that person. So it is always, it is never a negative thing that will get back to you whenever any HR says. It is just that he's fighting for you, maybe in the back end. He's trying to get you that one thing which you have worked hard for, or he's just waiting for a direction to come in.
No, let us take a scenario. There are two candidates. One is good at technical skills. One is good at communication skills. Both are polar apart. Okay. Which one do you prefer?
So when you say one is good in technical but not good in communication,
Yeah, yeah.
and one is good in communication but not good in technical. So is it when you say
Like,
not?
if you want to rate it, like hypothetically, there's a situation you need to hire one. Which one do you prefer?
Of the two scenarios, none. But I would prefer someone who is average in communication, average in technical, but good in confidence. Because confidence is ultimately is what plays the major role. Technical skills, I can still train him because I know that candidate is a fresher. He's just coming out of the college. Benefit of the doubt given to him. That college would not have trained him on this aspect, but I'll take care of this training. Communication will improve because when he comes in an environment which is completely dominant by English only. So like we were talking backstage now, you were saying that every time if I wear coat suit every day, you will have that urge to wear coat suit. So the same thing happens with a candidate. In college, he's surrounded by friends. They are friends. Okay, so they will have their own language of talking. They might be having their own local language to talk in. But when they come to corporate, though you have friends, but you still have to communicate in one language. You know, English is a very common language all across. So, technical skills, I'll still train him. Communication, he will learn because of the environment which he is into. Confidence will anyways should be high because that's how you will learn across the thing. But if the confidence is low, very low, I would say, communication is average, technical is average, I would still be in doubt because there have been candidates which have almost been considered but not considered also. They were put on hold because we were a bit skeptical. If we put this person in front of a customer, assuming we look from a longer perspective, not my organization, but in general, I'm telling. Even whenever we hire any faculty in a college, we see will the students get benefited or not. So if I hire a candidate and I will see from this perspective, long-term perspective, that if I put this person in front of a customer, will this person be sufficient as a whole army of my team working in there? If the confidence is high, that's very good. I mean, you do not need to worry about anything. Communication and technical skills will improve with time. See, when someone was a VP, let's for example, he was also a fresher at time. Now look at his confidence and his communication and everything, every aspect of it. Similarly, this guy can be the next VP, but you cannot judge him just because on communication and technical knowledge at that point. He will learn. So you cannot, on that point, you cannot judge whether a candidate is good or bad unless it, it is very down.
No, like I'm also in admission team. Like always, parents were so skeptical that in the era of AI and layoffs, like my son, why they supposed to do engineering? My kid, like why they supposed to do engineering? Engineering don't have future. Okay, all these things were like buzzing in the market right now. Do engineers have a bright future in the coming days?
Engineers have a very bright future. I mean, AI will definitely be in the market for long term. Okay, but for example, will AI be able to manufacture a rail? No. Will AI be able to manufacture a bridge? No. So, will AI be able to manufacture something which is of a physical form? No. We know this fact that. But we still give so much importance to AI, and people are starting to feel that, oh, AI will take away my job. So, that is something which is a buzzword which is coined in the market in a very negative way. In my personal opinion, back in 2016, I'm not giving this a political angle, but back in 2016 or 16, I'm sure, there was a Hindi word which was coined as asahiష్णुता. Asahiష్णुता. Okay. In English, it means intolerance. You, if you notice that thing, it was coined in the market as if it is the best word across. People started liking it. People started using it everywhere. And now where is it? Nowhere. This similar is the case with AI. People have started using AI everywhere. You see uh, a show running on one of the known channels. Every founder comes in and says, we have put in AI. Well, the AI makes no sense to be in that particular product. Why? Because everyone wants to hear AI. That's how the human psychology works. If you use a term every now and then, people will start using it. Will It's the subconscious mind which takes it into your head, and then you ask, where is the AI part? Layoffs are happening, but that is not only because of AI. That's because of the market situation which is prevailing in the market, which is across the world. That is happening. Yes, that is happening, but you cannot blame AI for that.
So if you can comment on job market for another 3 or 4 years, like it will be a bubble burst or a recession or something will gonna happen like that because you are in HR field. So is there any notion of like that, like bubble burst will gonna happen, recession will gonna happen like that?
I don't see nothing. I don't see anything happening as such. Okay. See, layoffs happen because of the current situation, which is we are into. You know which situation we are into. People are fighting here and there. But I'm sure of this fact that there will be no recession. There will be repercussions, I would say, but there will be no recession. Considering India as a country which is growing as of now, it will not be affected or impacted much. I will say all the freshers who are in their college in the second and third year or fourth year, just be relaxed, okay? Because no one is taking their jobs away. It is my understanding again would say that it is the top tier which gets affected the most, not the bottom layer. And I'm not discriminating top and bottom here. I'm just giving it as an example. These students will join as someone who is learning, not someone who has learned already from the market. So there will be no recession. Even if there is 1% of recession, people in the college currently in second, third, and fourth year need not worry at all. Because jobs will be there, jobs still will be there. And like I mentioned in my previous answer, do not coin this as new term now that okay, there will be recession, layoffs are happening. Layoffs are happening because of certain reasons which the companies know better, but that does not mean that there will be recession. Some things are not in your control. If they're not in your control, don't try to control them. Just focus on what you have in your plate as of now.
Like whenever people come to our college as a soft skill trainer and all, when we are conducting such kind of activities in the college premises, so they used to teach the students about grooming.
Hmm.
Like you need to wear the same color belt with the same color shoes, or like something like you need to wear such kind of shirts, all these things. As an HR, do you see all those things when the student enter into interviewer room?
See, as an HR, yeah, your turnout is making sense in a room. Okay, but for when a candidate enters a room, from again, I'm talking purely on my experience. I'm not generalizing it. What we look at is the body language of a candidate. Body language speaks a lot. The facial expressions speak a lot. But when it comes to the hygiene, personal hygiene and personal turn up, I have seen people wearing always white shirts, which are not ironed. That's a bad turn off. Black pants, which are now, if you see, there is a fashion up until knee. They
Yeah,
have,
yeah,
I don't know what two people call it. They
yeah.
have black pants which are like this, and the socks uh, peeking out of it,
Mm.
off color socks. And then some people do not even shave as freshers.
Mm.
They do not even comb
Mm.
their hairs properly. The top button is open. These are something very basic turn-offs,
Mm.
but rarely you pay attention towards the belt, the shoes. Shoes you pay attention if only if they are dirty and if they are not formal. See, there are situations wherein a candidate cannot afford a shoe, proper shoe. That's a different thing. That you cannot question a candidate. You can only assume that he might be in a situation he cannot afford. But if someone who can afford, you can sense it if a person can do it or cannot. But if the person can do it, and if he's still not able to do it, that's a way big turn off. For me, shoes do matter. Polished shoes, obviously. Belt, if there or not, that's okay. I mean, you don't pay attention much to that aspect. But what pays more attention, what should pay more attention to all the HRs out there is the confidence, the communication, the body language which a candidate brings in to the candidate to the table during that interview. Yes, uh, I would say turn up does does affect does play an important role. I would say.
If you want to go back to your college days, and like if you wanted to change something, okay, I should have learned this when I was in engineering days. I could have been in a better position now, in the sense like you are already in a better position, but still you could have scaled up yourself. Like what's that one thing you wanted to learn, that skill, when you are in your college days?
One skill which I always wanted to learn. That's a very difficult question which you have asked me.
Mhm.
I would have said, or I would have learnt much better, or I could have learnt back then is stakeholder management. I would, because from my aspect and being diplomatic, diplomacy is something which everyone should know of. So from my habit is I say no to no,
Hmm.
yes to yes. So you call ace and ace like this.
It's fine, right? Like that's how human principle should be, but that doesn't work in corporate world.
I would say it does only if there is diplomacy involved here. I
But
tried
it's a
this.
fair thing, like
I tr-
right? Like if you put black as black and white as white,
I tried this.
okay.
I got an I got a saying that you should not say no.
Okay.
That's my previous organization where I was working
But like I always used to say to the students, okay,
in.
vitamin N is very important. What is vitamin N?
No,
Saying no, because say like if friend says come let's go to the movie, saying yes is very easy, but saying no is very difficult. You should have a lot of guts for it to say no.
actually yes. The one skill which I would like to say is vitamin no.
Mhm.
I should have said learn to say no. But see, I'll give you an example. I'll try to explain this with an example to you. This situation where we are in, again, a political angle because that's my favorite subject of all. If you would have seen our external minister, the way he
Jaishankar.
plays, yeah, the way he does diplomacy is a very good example, I would say, of saying no.
Mm.
You have seen other countries trying to pressurize India. You know, I wouldn't name this. But how did we handle this? Is by keeping quiet and by saying subtly no. So that is one thing which I should learn or I should have learned as a skill. Subtly saying no. I tried it recently, okay, with not only professional but personal also. When you say no directly, no on someone's face, think from their perspective. Okay, there is always a narrative.
Jaishankar always used to say this, like in a recent meeting, he said like when it is a problem for West, okay, it is whole of world problem.
Correct.
When it is a problem for Asia, it is their own problem. Like you will not gonna give it towards us.
Correct.
When you are fighting, like why we supposed to involve? When there is a Russia-Ukraine war, like why we supposed to poke our nose over there? When there
Exactly.
is a Iran and US war, why we supposed to poke our nose? Because we will gonna lose our economy. But
Exactly.
that's a very wise way of saying the
Saying
things.
no.
The reason is he come across it such kind of profile. So
Hmm.
he was a foreign like affairs
Yeah, yeah.
secretary before,
He was an ambassador. Yes.
ambassador. He cleared IFS, Indian Foreign Service. His family is IFS, Indian Foreign
Yes.
Service. So he, it's such kind of people are there here and there. But like people from tier two and tier three cities, like if an engineering guys like us and like in our college, they don't know like who is Jai Shankar, like how they supposed to learn all these skills.
So I would say that saying no is an art. Is a very good art of saying no. Yeah. Whenever you have to deny or decline something, if you can do it with confidence, that's something which I should learn from you, or vice versa. But if someone who does not know, coming from a tier two, tier three city or college, that is something which they will have to imbibe it by themselves.
So being an HR, like will you gonna digest this if you ask some question? If I say no, I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
huh?
We are absolutely okay with it. I
Hmm.
mean,
Will you rate according to that?
no, no, no. So, see, uh, it depends on how generations are. For example, if I look at someone which is an older generation to me, like my fathers or great grandfathers, they will say no, then I'll feel okay. They
Hmm.
are elder. That's okay. Someone who of my age says no, then I will feel, why did he, how can he say no? Why
Hmm.
did he say no? Because I'm of his age only.
Hmm.
Now, when people of this age, which whom we interview day in and day out, they say no, that means they say no. They do not have any reason. They have their own principles, what I feel. So it does not bring a bad point during an interview. It is just that they are being very open and frank to you that I don't know the answer to this question. So you cannot say that, how do you not, how can you say that you do not know? Which is a very good thing, that they're saving your time also. That by beating around the bush, they're not like, oh, I'll find it, I'll know this. They're
Hmm.
not doing this. They're
Hmm.
saying blatant
But
no.
still, you prefer such kind of candidates because if you answered few other
Yeah,
questions,
yeah.
hmm?
So you cannot evaluate a candidate just on one no
Hmm.
or two no's
Okay.
during an interview. It is just not one question, but on a set of the whole interview. How does that come out as an individual or as a personality during the interview? That plays more or major role during an interview, but not just one or two questions. And someone to answer your, to addition to that question, how can someone learn to say no? That is something which you have to imbibe slowly. It won't come. So for someone who has that gene of being very confident and saying no in a subtle way, like Dr. Jaishankar, is a different
Hmm.
case. But for people like us also, coming in from tier two and tier three cities or college, we have to learn and imbibe it slowly in a subtle way. Because I'll recently I went through a training, okay, which had a story
Hmm.
and a narrative. So if you say no, you will say, sorry, facts and narratives, not story and narratives. So
Hmm.
if you say no, that's a fact that you have said no to me. But narrative will be, my from my aspect, why did he say no? Why, how could he say no? What was the reason that he said no? So there are two faces of a coin. So your no can be a reason from your end, justifiable. From my side, it will be, how can you say no? And how dare you say no, in a way, if I had to take it on my ego. So it is always two sides of a coin. So if you subtly say no, that's your way. And if the intent, I would say, if someone gives you work and you say no with a bad intention, that I don't want to do this because I hate the job, that's a bad thing. But if you have the intention, or there is some any reason, personal, professional, that you're not willing to do it. If the intent is right of saying no, also, that works.
So assume that like you're gonna hire two people from our college. So for one person, assume that like you're gonna go give 4 lakh package.
Mm.
For other, you will gonna give like 10 lakh package.
Of the
So
same branch,
same
same
branch,
profile.
same profile,
Okay.
everything. So how will you gonna justify when they come to the company?
So I can counter this question in a very good way. It rarely happens that
Please,
you.
why asking this question?
Hmm.
Like when there's so many other sectors as well, like government sector, private sector, or like the sector we were working, academics or somewhere else. So if a person is getting more incentives, the other person is getting less incentive, and they're going to start comparing. So how this will going to work in the corporate world? So that is a very big problem in other sectors, like if you go for government sector or like the other sector,
Mhm.
academics or something less like that. How will you going to tackle this thing in a corporate sector? Because you are in a HR field, like you need to give justification for it,
Mhm.
not the other people. Like you need to give a justification for it.
So, for my experience all throughout in campus hiring, it has never happened that we hire same candidate, sorry, two candidates from same branch, same college at a different package. See, unless and until you are a company which has multiple levels of tests
Mm.
done,
Mm.
and if one candidate clears the highest level of assessment,
Why
so
I'm asking you, TCS NQT, TCS Ninja.
hmm,
So like they conduct the test in the same college,
yeah.
and they are gonna give different packages.
Hmm. So it is justifiable for one candidate who is getting a higher package because he has cleared all the assessment. Okay, and someone who has not cleared, that means they are eligible. Let's say someone who clears gets a 10 lakh package. Someone who couldn't clear gets a 5 lakh package. So it is justifiable at that point itself that the candidate has a proven ability. He has that ability to solve that 10 lakh package wala question. But unfortunately, you did not have that capability, which you will eventually get through it. So it is very clear from the candidate's perspective also that why am I getting 5 and 10. But I would say some companies do it, but
Mm.
not all companies do it. From the
Mm.
companies I have worked across, we have hired always candidates at same package, same college, and same level also. So rarely you don't feel like you. My personal opinion is we should not discriminate first of all. But if someone is doing this way, that's their own personal call.
So tell me 3 things which students has to imbibe to get into your company.
I would say not only my company but
Mm.
across all the companies. I
Mm.
would say first of all, see, I wouldn't say I would. If you allow me, I would not limit to only three, but I
Mm.
can name a lot of.
Like if you want to prioritize it and like give three.
Okay,
Mm.
so basic thing
Mm.
is discipline.
Okay,
That
fine.
is first thing. Okay, discipline in terms of even if you are trying to get in a company, how disciplined are you, or how badly do you want that company something, which will come across as a vibe to an interviewer during
Okay.
an interview. Okay, that is one thing. Second is the knowledge of your basic thing. Like if you're a mechanical engineer, which I am, so I take examples of mechanical engineering. If you're a mechanical engineer, I would expect you to just have the basics done right. We when we hire mechanical engineers in any across any organization, we just check what we do not ask them heat mass and transfer questions. What do? We ask them basic stress and strain diagram questions, formula. What is the formula of deriving force? Something like this. What is the unit of force or pressure? Something. I would be stating something's wrong, but that's
Mm.
because my engineering knowledge
Mm.
is bad.
Okay.
But you understood what I'm trying
Yeah,
to
yeah,
say.
yeah. Basic should be strong.
Basics should be strong of any candidate. Like if you are a mechanical engineer, you should know how many subjects you have studied in mechanical engineering. It is the way of evaluating the interest of a candidate. So first is discipline, second is interest of a candidate. That how interested was he while he was pursuing an engineering branch. That is one major thing which we evaluate. Third is I would say I would again coin the term as intent. If you are coming intent plus with the knowledge of the job profile and of the company. I see majority of the people turning up for an interview with no intent. They just come for a trial purpose. That let's go, we'll see. If he gets selected, selected. If not, that's okay. Which is also a good thing to relax in your mind, but also comes across as someone who is just here for a time pass purpose. So discipline, interest, and intent with the company knowledge is, I think, I would like to prioritize. Three things which the company should know. Sorry, a candidate should know while turning up for an interview.
Now, if I'm a student from tier 2 or tier 3 city, the companies, good companies will not going to come to our campus. But I wanted to get into that company. So if I apply in LinkedIn, like so many HRs will not going to reply to me because I myself have not built the proper profile.
Hmm.
And second thing is if I go to the other stuff like Naukri, Times Job, all these things, the links are not working. For candidates like that, like how to get into some good companies.
It's a question which is again purely based on luck, I would say. Okay. Considering the fact that you were not placed in the college while the campus was happening, this answer is based on that case only, that scenario only. So if you could not get placed in any of the companies while you were in your college and you want to try for, let's say, any random company, it is purely a play of luck there. Because first is, as a candidate, you will try to reach out to people on LinkedIn. If they respond, that's your luck. If they do not respond, that's your bad luck. I would say hard luck only. Second is, you might try to reach out to your placement officer. What if he has something for you? What if he has a contact there? Again, a game
Luck.
of luck. What if the vice versa happens? Hard luck again. You will reach out to Naukri, Times Job, and like all other places wherein you can find those things. Find it, get the call, that's luck. If you couldn't find it, that's hard luck again. Why am I telling you these things? Because you can try as hard as you want to. Okay. If the HR responds you and if he takes your application ahead, then only it's a good thing. I post a lot of things, a lot of off-campus things on my LinkedIn page at times. Imagine if I would not have posted it for those people, my current organization would have been a goal, ultimate place to work in. So it is at times a pure play of luck. I mean, it is. I would not say that you have to have this skill, you have to have people skill, people management skill, or learning skill, or talking skill. Nothing is required here. Such cases only luck favors at times. I wouldn't say fortune favors the brave because here no one is brave. People are like just playing on the luck and in this particular situation. So if I would not have posted it, people would not have got an opportunity. I would not have onboarded them, and they would not have expressed their thankfulness towards my current organization. So this is again, I mean, I would reiterate your luck it is. Unless and until you have a strong connection. Let's say if a candidate whose his friend has applied in a job portal, job post of my current organization, and then this guy comes to me and asking me that my friend is looking out for a job, can you help him? That's a different scenario. That's again luck, right? So it
Very
is
much,
it
very
is
much.
it is pure game of luck in this case.
One suggestion you wanted to give for students,
To current lot who are in their
current lot.
final year
Yeah,
or
for students, the student fraternity.
students all across,
Yeah, all of-
multiple suggestions. I mean, suggestions
Mm.
in what aspect you want me to give them?
if they wanted to land up in a good job, we already discussed this priorities question, but still, like if you wanted to give some good suggestions for them, so this is how you need to work on your skills.
So it is difficult for me to combine all these suggestions in one suggestion. I will name three for all of it. If it
Mhm.
reaches out to multiple candidates. I've already mentioned first is
Because
intent.
you have encountered our students,
Yes.
so you might be knowing like how the lot is. So
Hmm.
if you keep them in mind and like if you want to give a suggestion for them.
I would see after this session, okay, I had some candidates coming in. What will the HR think what will my friends think if I ask a question? How will the society, their society is their friends only? How
True.
will they judge me? How will they evaluate me? All these questions they had in their mind. One suggestion I would like to give across the student fraternity is like what even our former captain MS Dhoni used to say: control the things which you can control.
Control.
Do not control which is not in
Control.
your control. Do not think what a person will say about me or what will an HR think about me. Think, be true to yourself. Yourself. You're being true to yourself is one major thing which people miss out these days. Unless and until you are true to yourself, you will never land up anywhere you wanted to be. Okay, and relax, relax. Because I saw some questions coming into me. AI is taking away my jobs. How will I
Mm.
do? What will I do? What should I do? And if an experienced candidate turns up for an interview, what if I am next in line but I'm a fresher? What will an HR think? These all questions are in mind of everyone, not only particular section of college or any region of India, across the nation, I would say. So do not be bothered about all these things. Just work what you can work upon. Like I mentioned, control things which you can control and let go of things which you cannot control. It is just the pure play of mind, I would say. Because you have social media, you have Instagram, you have other things coming in which try to hamper your thought process day in and day out. Students of this generation should know how to control the mind. That is one major thing which I feel is lacking.
Do you suggest anything for students to read? Any books or something like that?
See, it depends on how the student is.
Mm.
Coming from my experience, I was never a book reader.
Okay.
Bookworm, I would rather say. I was always someone who imbibed things or learned things by hearing people, by
Okay.
watching people. So it is not always that you read newspaper to improve your communication or
Books.
whatever. Okay. So every candidate has a way of improving themselves.
Mm.
Student, I would say. Not necessary they should read. If they are not into reading, that's okay. They should listen. If they're still not into listening, then they will have to try by themselves by talking to themselves or talking to the friends in English. Majority of the people say I lack communication. That is something which they should do in
Mm.
order to improve themselves. There was a time when I feel that I should have worked upon something which you asked me in the previous question. I feel that at that moment of the art of saying no was one thing, and now the second thing which comes to my mind is utilize the time which is given to you. Working upon a skill. Now, skill people here today feel that it's C++, Java, Python. No, not those skills. There are other skills like people management, talking to people, being with them, being in a group and trying to still get yourself an identity, making friends. It
Mm.
is one of the important qualities which is gaining up momentum these days.
True. Intrapersonal skills.
Yes,
Mm.
intrapersonal skills is something which I could have worked on more.
Mm.
And the person which you see talking to you now is more of an outcome or output of having an experience. Of all the things I'm talking to you now is out of all the experiences which I have. So that is that I feel is if I would have worked at that time on these things, I would have been much better version of myself.
The networking is the key. To have the good networking in this cosmopolitan world, so like if you have a very good networking, you can reach to the heights. For that, like we need to have these skills. Is it what it
I
mean?
I would I
Mm.
would not say it as networking. Okay. Because my mentality is not be a sheep in a herd. People do coin this often whenever we are in a group and say, Network is net worth. Everyone knows that. I mean, stop saying every time the same thing, time and again. Think from a student point of view. You cannot say network is net worth. What will he think is, I will make a LinkedIn profile, I'll have 100 people added, and that's my network.
True.
No, it's the physical way of interacting with each other. For we should always think from a student point of view because we work for students, not for ourselves. Students help us learn from their own experiences. So, from my understanding, because my mom has always been a teacher, okay, and that this quality I got from my mother itself. That work for the students because they will help the nation grow. So my thought has always been, and that's what my wife always tells me. Think from a student perspective. Don't think that you are an HR. Okay. So my thought always has been like, think by stepping into their own shoes. Today when we were talking to the students, I was like, I should get into their shoes and then try and think what are they going through. So we should never bog them under this pressure that heavy terms like network is net worth. I understand. For us, it is common, but for them, it is network is a different thing. This generation itself thinks differently.
True.
You should have them like be amongst the people, not be not don't be virtually present. Be physically present everywhere. That's when you will learn. That's when intrapersonal skills is what you mentioned, right? That is something I feel the students should have these.
So thank you so much, sir. Thank you for being in our podcast. Hope so. Like we're gonna continue this series again and again in our channel. So we will gonna get back to you as soon as possible for this podcast. And thank you for your precious time in this podcast. Thank you very much.